everybody, welcome back to the Now What podcast. I am your host, Arian Foster, aka Bobby Feeno, aka the Pod God. We still running with that nickname. Can't really
I'm not mad at that.
Can't certify it yet. Yeah, man, it's gaining steam. We got some fans out there that like it.
Pod God, that's a good one.
Yeah, appreciate it. So if you don't know that iconic voice, man, that is Bun B, the mayor.
I'll take that.
Man, welcome, man. How you doing,
I'm
dog?
good, man. I'm good. It took me a while to get here. It took me a while to get here.
I know I got you out here, and I don't even know where this is at, man. Where is this at? Where in the Heights.
Independence Heights.
Independence Heights.
Yeah,
I don't know my way around Houston like that yet.
Yeah, you kind of close to the Heights or whatever. But,
Got you.
But then you also close to Aldine. So
Okay.
you
Okay.
ain't too far from the hood.
Okay. That's what gets security. So what's up, man? I appreciate you joining the pod, man. You one of my favorite people. And you adapted me early in Houston, man. I remember when I started balling, man, you reached out and we connected, and we actually had a couple songs back in the day, man. But I ain't gonna put those out and embarrass myself yet.
That was good music though.
It's not my best.
No, I can understand.
You was
that.
polished then, you know what I'm saying? I was still figuring out my style, man. The bars were there, but it's just
Now I gave you a lot of credit though, man, because a lot
did.
of artists try to make the transition, and I think you're one of the better ones that actually making the transition into a full-fledged artist.
Man, I appreciate
You
that.
know, but you take time on the craft though. That's really the difference. A lot of people do it when they can get to it. You
Right.
actually took time out of your schedule and your day to make time to work on the craft, and I think it showed in the art.
Man, that's huge. That's huge praise, man. High praise, man. I appreciate that, man. To hear that from somebody who's a legend and established in the game, man, it lets you know you on a you doing well. I mean, I'm gonna do what I feel anyway, because I feel like that's the way to lead the happiness is doing what you feel. But anytime anybody certifies you as like you just did, man, I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, no, and I'm not just saying that because we're here in front of people. I told you that before. And I think the project you put out, man, I think it really reflected your attempt to actually show people that you have issues and concerns, but you also really care about the art craft.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The art of your craft. And I'm ready to go see the shows now. Boy, got shows booked and everything.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. We're at the House of Blues. For people that don't know, we're at the House of Blues November 20th and 24th. So, go pick up your tickets. We're in Houston and Dallas, the 20th.
You ready for that?
Yeah, man. I'm actually rehearsing, so we're going to have a live band and all of that, the whole nine.
Wow.
Yeah, we're going to have a live band. It's going to be a good show, man. I wanted to put on a show that people would leave feeling like, damn, I kind of robbed them. I only paid $20 for that, instead of leaving and saying, I can't believe I paid $20 for that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's kind of either or. You know.
Yeah,
what I'm
I hear you.
Nobody ever say, well, it was a $20 show. I got $20 worth.
I hear that.
But it's gonna be interesting to see. I'm definitely gonna be in the house for that.
Yeah,
I
for
really
sure.
want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see how this happens in real time.
That's
you know what I'm
love.
saying?
No, that's love.
These gonna be your first shows?
Yeah, it's my first two shows. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's why that's probably the reason. Like I'm rehearsing for a week. I'm bringing the whole band down, and we rented the studio out. So we're gonna put in 8-hour days. It's gonna be a real.
That's crazy. That's gonna be your first show.
Yeah.
That was not what my first show. My first show was that House of Blues.
Yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying? Like
I'm in a unique position from artists that are first starting out.
I think a lot of artists nowadays, they get into the music industry in a unique position because there's a lot of avenues that are available to you immediately as an artist now, as in before. We kind of had to fight to get into those places.
Yeah.
That used to be. It took a while for hip hop to get into like House of Blues and stuff like that.
That's true.
In LA especially, I used to really give artists headaches with how many people you could bring in and what kind of show were you doing. Dan Aykroyd was a little bit more hands-on in the earliest days of House of Blues, and they really were trying to keep it to a certain look and a certain feel.
Right.
And hip hop just didn't fit into what they wanted. But eventually, people wanted to see it performed, and they were one of the best venues, and they had to do it.
I know. You guys are pioneers. Bless you, brother. You guys are pioneers in that. If there's any, this is for people listening, man. If there's background noise, this is our first live event. We're doing it in front of our audience, man. But you guys are pioneers in the fact that you guys had to take a lot of those bullets early on to pave the way to get hip hop where it is right now. And hip hop right now is the #1 genre in the world, and y'all moved that gravel out of the way.
Well, I mean, that's just kind of how history works, right? Like the people that came before us, they didn't have the opportunities that we had. You know what I'm saying? They were playing a lot of skating rinks and, you know, small, like, not even hip hop clubs back then. They were more alternative disco kind of clubs, you know what I'm saying? So they were getting like sandwich bags of money. We started getting like grocery bags of money. And now kids nowadays, they're getting trash bags of money.
That's true.
And it's just a natural progression of life. You know, the people, you know, before them, they used to play the backwoods and the juke joints and all that kind of stuff. So everything progresses in life. I feel like I'm in a good place in history. You know what I'm saying? I'm 26 years in and I'm still doing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is still my primary source of income. We found other ways to bring in money, but this is still pretty much what pays the lights, keeps the lights on and the roof over the head, so to speak. And it's beautiful to still be a part of it at this stage, even as it's progressed into, you know, a different appreciation of different musics. And you know, music is really more about energy right now. It's in a very base state, which is not a bad thing. I think it's the purest connection that people can make. It's just to the drum. You know, that's the first connection that mankind made. The sound was to the drum. And people are very, very drawn to this drum right now.
That's a heavy point.
So that's why you see a lot of DJs and that whole point of
they're killing right now.
Well, I mean, it's the most primal instinct of a human to want the drum. Like if you go to these EDM concerts that have the one dude standing there and then what's he do? He takes the drum out. Tells the people, come on, put your hands up and give me, you know what I'm saying? Give me the energy. And then he drops the drum, gives them the drum back, and then people go insane. It's very primal, but it's very human at the same time.
Wow, I never even. And that's a healthy way to look at it, right? Because people view, and one of the homies actually in college said this, because I used to be like one of those backpacking rappers where I used to just love like the cypher, and I used to love like the true roots. That's the hip hop I loved, and then it kind of started getting a little more mainstream, and like the Lil Waynes and the Cash Money, that stuff started popping off, and I used to not like it. But he was like, why do you view hip hop in this box, and it's just this box? He said, I look at hip hop more of like a tree, and it's growing, and it got branches. And I was like, you know what, dog, you right.
Well, I mean, take chicken. I know it might sound strange, but take chicken. Like, right? Like, I like fried chicken. Right? I don't like baked chicken. I don't like stewed chicken.
Shout out to you.
You know what I'm saying? I like fried chicken, right? But other people like chicken a different way. So that's just how we have to look at culture. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's going to want to be a part of the culture, but maybe not a part of the culture that you're in. You know what I'm saying? But we all want to be a part of it, right? There's just something very communal about being with people who like the same things you like. And for a lot of people, that's not the easiest thing in the world. So that's why people go on social media now and the internet now is to find people that are like them, even for crazy reasons. Like, I'm a hater. I need to find other haters. You know what I'm saying? And then they find a community of haters. And then it's just like, well, what do you hate? And I hate this. I hate that too. So we don't rock like that. It's everybody wants to be a part of something. And hip-hop culture allows people from all different parts of life and all different walks of life and communities to come and be a part of something. And there's history to it. So it's like, all you have to do is kind of understand a little bit of the history, not a lot of it, but just some of the basics of it. And then you can be a part of it and embrace it and go to concerts and sing songs with people and be a part of that energy and just wait for those little moments where we all scream the same words out.
That's a beautiful way of putting it. And because you see a lot of this tribalism with hip hop nowadays, where it's like, some of the cats from their generations are saying, no, it's not supposed to be done like this, and these new cats are like, this is vibe. And I was actually reading, or I saw this video of this guy, and he referenced a book that says your brain on music, and he was talking about how your taste in music is pretty much set at the age of 14. And so he said, if you look back and you read clips from like when the Beatles first came out, people from the previous generation were saying, those kids are awful. That is not what music sounds like. That is not how it's supposed to be. And if you look, every single generation says that about the past generation, and that's just what we're seeing now. We're just in the information age now where we can actually look back and kind of step outside of ourselves and look at it.
Absolutely. Well, the generational gap is necessary, right? Because that's where we start to have problems in the family, is when the young people and the old people are doing the same thing. They're into the same thing. That's when families tend to have a lot of conflict, you know what I'm saying? So, I could see the concept of music where people kind of seeing who they want to identify with at 14.
Right.
At the same time, though, you can listen to music at 14 and like it, dance to it, groove to it, and really don't have an idea of what it is and what they're talking about. We grew up listening to the Isley Brothers and Maze and them talking about love and relationships and songs like Weekend Lover and Saturday Love, and I didn't know what any of that stuff means, but it had a good groove to it. So you would dance to it, and then you get older, be like, oh, they was cheating on people with you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so I think, but I do think that, you know, music is the way that we decide the kind of people we want to be around based on the music we listen to.
Right.
That's part of what we talk about in our class at Rice University is, you know, people tend to choose the company they keep by the religion they practice and or the music that they listen to. You know what I'm saying? Because it's again a communal situation where people want to be around like-minded people feeling that energy. It's the same way where people go to church and they feel what they call the anointing. You know what I'm saying? Well, you can get that same feeling in a musical setting with a bunch of like-minded people waiting for that drum to drop. It's you know what I'm saying? The energy becomes reciprocal and everybody in the room giving themselves over to the moment. The person on stage gives that moment back to you, and that's what makes a concert fun. That's what makes people enjoy going to see music performed, is when they, you know, they sing along with the music or they dance to the music, and the band sees that they're responding to it a certain way, and then they give them a little bit more energy, a little bit more, you know, bass or, you know, guitar solos and drum solos, and things like that. And it's all about the energy in the room. And I think young people operate on a certain energy. I think middle-aged people operate on a certain energy, and older people operate on a certain energy. And whenever those different generations try to share that same energy and it isn't from a spiritual aspect, that's when things kind of go crazy. Because the kid and the mom and the grandmother shouldn't all be twerking to the same record. Somebody needs to grow up. You know what I'm saying?
It's gonna be interesting though, because if you look at the trend in music and culturally, it gets a little more, I guess the term I could, free. So the free expression is getting more and more prevalent in the music and the culture, right?
Oh yeah.
So I think it's gonna have to come to a breaking point, or else we're gonna be walking around naked.
Well, I think we're getting close, because this generation found out what grown folks were doing quicker than any generation before. You know what I'm saying? There were certain things that we kept the younger people away from. They didn't really have a lot of information about it. They couldn't get access to it.
That's true.
And they had to kind of wait until they actually became of age to know what those things really were. And this is the first generation that didn't have to become of age to know what grown people were doing.
That's true.
So, you know, so their response to things is different. Their approach to things is different. And so we just have to kind of accept that that's the reality of the world we live in, and calibrate things a little different. We have to calibrate our families, calibrate the communication, and change the way that we discuss these things. And, you know, the way that our parents did it with us is not going to be the way that we get to do it with our kids. We just won't have that luxury. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's always interesting to me to see how we govern, how you govern your own household as opposed to your parents. And we have this new tool that our parents never had to deal with, which is the internet.
Absolutely.
And the internet has changed everything for the course of humanity. Like that has probably been the biggest change in human history, probably since the printing press or the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah, cable TV did a lot for our generation too. It opened us up to a lot of things, a lot of persistent use of language and nudity and all those kind of things, simulated sex, all of that kind of stuff to our generation at a very young age. We like 15, 16, but now that stuff is open to kids now 8, 10 years old. And a lot of parents don't want to admit that they're really not monitoring their children's use on the internet, because a lot of these parents are very active themselves on the internet. A lot of them have hidden lives on the internet, and they're trying to protect the integrity of their page more so than they're worried about other things. And then the other side of that I always talk about is the fact that a lot of parents bring a computer into the house before they really know what a computer does.
That's true.
They buy the computer because the kid needs the computer for school or whatever like that. But the kid knows more about the computer than the parent does. So how can a parent monitor the kid when every day you got to tell your kid, what's my password again? You can't remember your password. How you going to remember their password?
That's true.
These are things that we have to make adjustments for. And, you know.
That's why I think it should be mandated. Like it's mandatory that our kids are learning. We should change the school curriculum on social media. It should be social media mandatory classes on all the ins and outs of
For parents
electronics.
too, I think that's the problem. Parents don't.
You can't mandate these cats.
Like parents understand Facebook, maybe Twitter, kind of Instagram.
Right.
They really don't understand Snapchat at all in that sense. You
Shit,
know
I
what I'm
don't
saying?
understand that.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so you can't, you can't give your children access to things that you don't understand. You shouldn't be giving your children access to that. But then it's very easy for a child to have these things going on secretly. You know what I'm saying?
But it's the big red button, right? So like the big red button is when you have a kid and you say, man, don't press that big red button. That's the first thing he's gonna do.
Yeah, they're gonna wake up every day wanting to know what happens when you press the red button.
So how do you hide things from kids? So I think
you can't anymore. That's the problem.
That's what I'm saying. That's
the problem. So we have to rethink parenting. You know what I'm saying?
And what kind of solutions do you
well, I think the thing is communication, for one.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We have to talk to our kids about things, whether we're comfortable with talking about it, whether the kids are comfortable with talking about it. You have to talk to your children and let them know that you have a frame of reference about these things, because they're going to go to school and these conversations are going to be happening anyway.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you have to try to make the best effort you can to keep a very open line of communication. One of the parents has to have that line of communication open with the kids, so when the kid doesn't want to talk to mom, dad can get that out of her, and vice versa. You know,
I'm interested in the effects of that too, because I have a very, very open relationship with my parents, and I think that helped me sift through a lot of emotional issues I had as a child. It was like I was never afraid to talk to my people about anything, whereas some of my friends, they couldn't curse around their parents, they couldn't say certain things, they had to hide a lot of who they were from their parents. When they grew up and they had to reveal who they actually were to their parents, they had so much conflict.
Well, parents, and for one, I think parents know who their children are.
Right.
Parents know what their children can handle. Right. Some kids can be given enough leeway to where they'll stay within those boundaries. Right. Parents know, right, this kid, if I tell him don't go nowhere but to school and back in the car, that's what he's gonna do. Right. But this one, you hear parents say it all the time. But this one here, I can't give this one the car at all.
He gonna go to
he gonna do whatever. He gonna go everywhere. He gonna want to pick up his friends. So parents have an idea of what their kids can handle and what their kids will gravitate to, because the kids are them. Right. And so they know the best of themselves, but they also know the worst of themselves. Right. They know their tendencies. You know what I'm saying? So, and they see themselves in their children all the time. They've seen it in the body language, the way they laugh, the characteristics. They already know what this kid is going to do. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, and it's just about being more honest and having these kind of conversations. But you have to know when your child is mature enough to have these conversations. You know what I'm saying? I think your parents probably saw a little bit earlier maturity in certain things. Obviously, as kids, we're gonna test the waters or whatever. But there's certain things that kids can handle. Certain kids can handle sooner than other kids, and parents kind of know that. You know?
Yeah. No, you mentioned it, man. But so for those that don't know, man, we briefly referenced it. But you're an accomplished artist. You've been in the game, in the music industry for almost 30 years now. Yeah. But you're unique in the sense that I don't want to shit on anybody else who's in the music industry, but from my vantage point, you're a real cerebral cat, and it's rare, just in general, but especially in the music industry. And I feel like in my X field as well. It's like when you have cerebral people, you just notice them, right? And one of the main things that I noticed was like you teach a course at Rice. Could you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Rice University.
Without getting too deep into it, there's a course that we co-teach together, myself and Dr. Anthony Penn. It's part of the Circle program, which is a cultural exchange on Rice University's campus. And it's about hip hop and religion, and it's about the parallels socially about hip hop and religion and the things that they share in common with regards to the Black experience in America. Which has now become more of the cultural experience in America now. But it's basically what we were talking about earlier, where people tend to pick the people they want to be around and the life they want to live based on either the music they listen to and or the religion they practice. Once you start drawing those hard lines, whether or not you like Norwegian death metal or West Coast gangster hip hop or those kind of things, and you really start to define the circle of people that you even want to be around and get information from and give information to and commune with, And the same thing goes with religion. A lot of us are born into certain religions and don't really make a connection spiritually with that religion for one reason or another, and decide to choose another path in life, another way to go. Or some people even go as not agnostic, you know, so forth. So, but it's really just about having those conversations and seeing how artists themselves deal with it. We go into talking about how sometimes people's religion become a big part of their music. Sometimes it can be a contrast to their music, and people find themselves in different situations based on the music they want to do, such as Orthodox Muslims, you know what I'm saying, who are really only supposed to sing and worship.
Right.
So they have to, there's always a conflict within that situation as to, should I even be doing this? You know, something that feels real to me, but in my raised religion and that I practice, it's frowned upon.
Right.
So, you know, there's different conflicts that people have with the music and the religion, and there's different things that kind of go in to and fro with it, whereas people get a lot of their information from the church. And as far as the Black experience, they've always gotten a lot of the information from the church and from hip hop music in the latter generations.
Right.
So these are some of the things we talk about. It's not fully engrossed in what the class is about.
Right. I don't want to give away the whole
yeah,
course.
I can't give away. Yeah, Rice would appreciate that.
No, for sure.
But it's been an amazing experience, man, to actually like be an educator to people. You
Right.
know what I'm saying, and to speak the truth of the culture into some of these young minds, because you know, Rice University is a very diverse university. But a lot of people who come to my course don't really have many frames of reference other than a few songs they've heard on the radio and a couple of videos they might have seen on YouTube. Culturally, they have no frame of reference or even a starting point to even know what hip hop's true nature is about and what the true intentions of the creation of the culture were meant to be.
Right.
And so we talk about a lot of that, and we put it in historical context.
I want to ask you your opinion on that specifically, because I go back and forth with it, but obviously I try to find ways to intellectually defend the culture I was raised in and the culture that is hip hop, right? Where it's a lot of advocacy for violence and drug use.
Absolutely.
Whereas it's like when you're, I always give an example because I grew up in a domestically violent household, right? So when things were going on in my house and the neighbor would call the police, I used to get mad at the neighbor. Like, this had nothing to do with you, right? But like internally, I knew what was going on. Like I knew, and it's kind of analogous to hip hop, where it's like you could hear a song and have somebody that's not a part of that critique it and say, look how it's bad for the community. And you're like, not really, because in context, it's this, that, and other. Because a lot of it's just reporting about what's going on rather than advocacy.
There's a bit of it. There is some. You know, all hip hop isn't defensible, even though we try to defend the culture as a whole.
Right.
But every hip hop song can be defended.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I've made music that I can't defend now as an older person. You know what I'm saying? It was just from a very ignorant standpoint and not really taking the larger world into consideration. But a lot of us don't necessarily live in that larger, broader world. You know, we live in a very small, confined piece of this planet, and we're kind of prone to the actions that we've seen in this part of the planet that we've been on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That being said, you already know, like, to shoot somebody, if you see somebody shoot somebody, it doesn't justify you going out and shooting somebody just because you were raised where they shoot people. That doesn't mean that's what you have to do. These are conscious decisions. But I do think that music can be, if music is done well, right? If music is done at its highest form, it can engage people, it can inform people. You know what I'm saying? It can bring out the best in people, but it can also be used as an avenue to bring out other energy in people. And sometimes that's an energy that people feel they need to get out. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's a lot of literal terminology that many people are really only thinking of using in a figurative way. You know what I'm saying? But the literal, like, you know what I'm saying, I want to just, you know, we talk about rap and like we'll F you up or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But we mean but we mean lyrically, you know what I'm saying? But other people wouldn't draw that distinction from it. So, you know, I can understand things being misunderstood and looking at the culture from the outside, but then some of it is exactly what it is, you know? But at the same time, it's ours, you know what I'm saying? Every family is dysfunctional, but that doesn't mean we reject our family and the people in it. You know, we love our family and we deal with the little flaws that we each have in our family, and some of those things are harder to deal with some of us than others, but it is what it is. None of us are perfect, you know, and And so we try to protect our family at all times. And I think that's just a part of hip hop. People in the culture trying to defend the culture as a whole.
Right.
And in order to do that, you have to defend the good and the bad sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, my brother a little bastard, but but he's real good at dominoes.
He means well.
You know what I'm saying? And he's gonna grow out of it. So I get it, man. I get there being a moral conflict for some people sometimes. I actually, was talking about that with Tobe. I wanted Tobe to be on my last album. And he was like, OG, I sent him several songs, and he was like, OG, to be honest, this is not the direction I'm trying to go musically. Yes, I would love to do a song with you, but I can't do these songs because it would misrepresent what my movement is. And I thought that was pretty ill of him.
That's really dope, actually, for an up and coming artist to say.
Yeah, I mean, because I need to be me more than I need to be associated with you in this moment in time. And I thought that was amazing to have that level of clarity as a young artist. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. And if y'all haven't heard him, man, check him out. It's Tobe, and I always mess up his last name. I don't want to butcher that. Tobe.
Yeah, I've never gotten the name right, and I don't want to get it wrong right
now. My bad, homie.
Nuegwe? I think it's Nuegwe.
Yeah, my bad, big dog. My bad. But I was always interested to hear that perspective, man, from all sides of the aisle. Of where hip hop is and what it stands for, and especially from somebody like you who teaches a course. And you said it best. It's like you can't defend every hip hop song. You can't.
And you're not supposed to. We're not here to defend everything that everybody does. Right. You know what I'm saying? But every little thing that someone does isn't necessarily representative of them as a complete person.
Yeah.
It's very easy to look at the worst moments of certain people and judge them and hold them accountable to that moment. Right. You know what I'm saying? But I don't think any of us would want to be held to our worst moments, even though some people's worst moments are worse than others, obviously. But it's just this level of judgment and people, feeling the need to have an opinion about someone at all times.
Yeah, it's also part of the culture that we're in right now. This politically enhanced climate, this judge me now, double tap, like this, don't like this climate that we're in. It's infectious, man, and I'm unsure. You have to disconnect sometimes because it's just people are turning into zombies, man.
Well, what it is, people go there for emotional encouragement, right? So you go in there and you be like, oh man, this is a beautiful flower, and then people are like, yeah, that's a beautiful flower, that's amazing, it really is a beautiful flower, and your flowers, you know what I'm saying? And then you go in and be like, oh, this food looks amazing. Oh, that is amazing looking food. I bet it tastes good too, man. You really got good taste in food, and so you get all this emotional support and emotional encouragement, and you're under the assumption that everybody agrees with you, or at least everybody in your space agrees with you, and then you comment on where you stand with Bill Cosby, and it's like, whoa,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, well, I think they railroading Bill Cosby. What are you talking about? Bill Cosby's a rapist.
Yeah,
you're an idiot now, and then you don't get the emotional encouragement that you thought you were going to get, and then it becomes confusing and it's off-putting, right? Because everything else was liked, and now this is not appreciated. So then you almost train yourself to constantly only put up content that you think people will like, or become the opposite where it's like, oh, okay, well, y'all gonna switch on me like that? Well, fuck y'all then. Then it becomes putting up content that will only offend. That's where the trolling situation comes from. You know what I'm saying?
Damn. Yeah. Now that's heavy though. That's real heavy because I mean I guess I'm just one of those cats who part of the reason why I'm on the internet is for, you have a social presence. I have a fan base, so I have an avenue to create content, and people either like it or dislike it. And I've become numb to that part of it. I'll banter with people, but it doesn't affect my day-to-day life as far as that is concerned. But people, you hear it all the time. I mean, the internet isn't real. It's not real. It is though. It really is.
It's the realest. I don't know why people would say that the internet is not real. It's as real as it gets.
It's interwoven in everything that we do.
It's what people would really say to you if they knew you would never be able to have, if there was no repercussion. That's the world we live in.
And see, that's the scary part of what I think the internet is because I look at Twitter as kind of Twitter and Instagram to a certain extent, but Twitter is more of a world, a battle of ideas, where it's just like this microcosm of ideologies fighting each other constantly. And whereas if you go to the store, unless you're wearing Black Lives Matter T-shirt or Make America Great Again hat, like you're not really going to get into it with anybody. You don't care what your cashier thinks. You don't care what the person buying oranges next to you thinks. It's not really that serious. But when you go on your feed and you see all these comments, you just look for that combativeness. But it's those thoughts that are dormant in people's hearts that are just, it's bubbling, and that's what scares me. It's like slow, and it's slowly coming to surface with some of the protests that become violent and yada yada yada.
Yeah,
some of these things are coming to fruition.
Well, people are coming outside with their inside voice.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? That's what's happening. People are really coming outside with their inside voice, and as you see, sometimes whenever they try to have those confrontations in real life, they never work out the way they think it's going to work out, and then they end up becoming Barbecue Betty or something like that, right? But that's really the internet has become a place for people who used to mumble things under their breath to say something out loud,
right.
And they know that they're saying something offensive, but if no one's following them, then there's no one to get offended.
Right.
So then there's this search to go out and just be on certain pages of people that they see are emotional about certain things and go there and try to offend them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's human nature to want to know why someone doesn't like you and want to rectify that.
That's where I sit with it.
That's
like,
very human to be like, well, why don't you like me?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you don't see I don't see anything wrong with myself. I feel like everybody should like me. Why wouldn't you like me? And then when somebody says that, it really throws you off. Like they said, you could be in a room with 1,000 people and 999 of them could say they love you, and then one person could say, well, I don't really care for you, and you'll go home all night sitting in the bed like looking at the ceiling. Why didn't he like me? What was he? What was it? My cologne?
Right.
Did I not? Was my breath stinking? Like what was it? And then because it raises self-judgment, right? And it puts you in a place of insecurity in that moment, and people don't like being or feeling insecure in those moments, and that's why sometimes you get into an argument with someone online when you really shouldn't even be having an argument with a person with an egg for a face, and you know what I'm saying? But it's just, it's human nature, and I think a lot of people are paying attention more and more to human nature and what humans are susceptible to, and they're creating these worlds strictly to entertain those type of people, and they're making a lot of money off of it.
Yeah, and that's exactly, that was my next point actually, is like you'll see people have branded themselves like the ambassadors of the voices of the quote unquote voiceless, and they're reaping the benefits off of these people's real emotions.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even want to name their names, but like there's people out here who have just developed brands and are making millions of dollars going on speaking tours, just playing to people's fears. And it's demagoguery. It's annoying as fuck, but I don't see any remedy for it because it's so successful, and America is made. It's America's soul is living off of blood.
Well, I think what happens is that people see these underserved communities, underserved groups of people, and they try to go and service those people. Now, some people could have good intentions, right? If you go to a community, you see it's a food desert, you want to bring that kind of a thing there too, but I think a lot of people are preying on people's worst sides, worst sensitivities. And to be very frank, which I hope you don't mind me being very frank on here, I think what we're seeing now is a big part of our society which has never been appreciated or appropriated, and that is the poor white man in America. If someone black gets shot right now, today, and there's a rally, you're going to see black people, white people, Mexican people, Japanese people. Same thing if you see it in the Latin community, the Asian community, you will see other people come out. No one comes out for the poor white man. No one stands up for the poor white man. There is no special interest group for the poor white man except the Ku Klux Klan. They're the only people that take any kind of look or concern into those people. And they know that there's a large group of people in this country who, and they're not necessarily racist. You know what I'm saying? But they are disenfranchised. And they look I'm just as poor as the poor black man, but the poor black man gets affirmative action. Why don't I get that? You know what I'm saying? So, and it's just one part of this world that we live in that's just underserved and underappreciated. And so we now have people that go around and prey on these microcosms of our society purely for profit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just by making people feeling appreciated. You'd be surprised what somebody would do for you if they feel appreciated by you.
Yeah.
They'll go, wouldn't even be about money or anything. They'll go above and beyond.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's, damn. I've never even thought of that aspect. I mean,
it's there. It's sitting right there in our face, but we don't really take notice to it, right?
I haven't, because I mean,
and there's just in the same way that things happen in our community that people don't take notice to.
Yeah. And I just grew up around it, so it was
right. There's a certain familiarity that you
Right.
have to these things that some people have absolutely no frame of reference, and you have to actually make them aware that it's actually happening.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they don't even believe that it's actually happening.
Right.
And if you could prove it's happening, they don't think it's happening that much. It's
Right.
just these very isolated cases. And then when you pull out the full records and you see that it's happening too much,
Right.
and then Black Lives Matter comes up, and then it becomes there becomes an opportunity to take people away from the original intention of the message
Right.
and get people caught up in terminology.
Damn, dog. That really got me fucked up, because it's just like you said, unless somebody brings attention to it. And I don't want to ever sympathize with the Ku Klux Klan, but it kind of
Yeah, which we shouldn't.
yeah, 100%. But when they say, okay, our brothers and sisters are, and they probably mean it different than I do, but then they say our brothers and sisters are also being disenfranchised, we have to stand up for them. It's almost admirable.
Well, I mean, it was admirable of the Panthers, and people don't appreciate them and don't respect them.
I don't want to conflate those two, but I'm saying it's they're doing it for different reasons.
Absolutely,
but
and it
is
comes from a different place.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So there's a different, there's a different thing when you say a certain class of people are being disenfranchised.
Right.
Well, who did the disenfranchising?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
the bully can't be the victim always.
I think that's where the lack of empathy comes from. There's never, I don't say never, but the majority of our human history, it hasn't been white men that have been suppressed. They've been the oppressors.
Yeah, well, I mean, they've been primarily the people with power.
Yeah.
Only someone with power can suppress you. You know what I'm saying? I can't just wake up and be like, I'm gonna go suppress Troy. I don't like Troy. I'm finna go to Troy's house and suppress him right now. But Troy got more money than you. Troy got a better job than you.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do that. You know what I'm saying? So that becomes a mental thing where you try to tell someone, oh, don't worry about that. Even the richest black person in the world is still a nigga.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're still less than you. Doesn't
Yeah.
matter what they have, what society is giving them. They're still less than you.
I was having that conversation with my boy last night, actually. We were talking about how it's always interested in me how, if you look at our culture, the black experience in America, we've always moved pop culture. Like, it's rare that you'll see a dance nationally get recognition that doesn't come directly from our neighborhoods. Like, it's rare. Like people aren't. You won't see anybody viral doing the two-step. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's just a rare event, and we were. It just kind of dawned on me like that. I don't really know what it comes from, but my best guess is like people love. I mean, granted, we're naturally rhythmic people, but aside from that, I think the pain that we draw from coming from those neighborhoods brought about that style. That
Well, the dance has always been the identity, right? That's what I don't think a lot of people realize is that's before there were shared languages between people. That's how people communicated who they were through dance. So everyone would stand around in a circle, and a person would come out and be like, "I'm Terry. I'm strong. I'm fast." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I like women. Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just kind of their way of, I'm a hunter. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you identified yourself through dance. And we still have that through this day. You have these groups of people that come together, and that's how they identify themselves, is through these dances. And when people feel that fits their identity as well, then they do that dance too. And they would like, this is a group of people I want to be around. I'm going to do this dance too. So now everybody wants to do the shoe. That's how you kind of identify people you want to be around.
Right.
Because if they're doing that dance, then they're listening to this music. They're probably a fan of this person. They probably make about this much money. They might even still be in school like me. All of these things can define a person just through the dance they're doing.
That's deep.
And it tells me everything I need to know about you. So if you're doing the bossa nova, okay, I don't want to be around this type of person.
The bossa nova.
You know what I'm saying? They probably were raised a certain way around a certain group of people. They went to these kind of events, and those are the kind of dances that they did that might be a little bit too upper crust for me.
That's what I don't understand though.
You know?
Why are they so stiff? Like, why is there just such a big difference between the way that they dance and the way the have-nots dance?
Well, I think because
it's an interesting topic.
Because if you own land and you have money, then that's how you identify yourself, right? So you would identify yourself through the clothes that you wear, right? Through the the pomposity of your hair. You know what I'm saying?
That's a $20 word for you.
Yeah, the intricacy of your clothing, right? Where did you get the silk from? Where did you get the materials from? That's another way of identifying yourself. You know what I'm saying? And the dance is always from the disenfranchised kind of people, right? Like people who have kind of lost their identity. So when the slaves came to America and they came from different parts of Africa or came from Haiti or came from Portuguese or whatever, that's how they defined who they were and what tribe they were from. And let people know what part of the world they were from. Wow. You know what I'm saying?
That's so dope.
And it still happens to this day.
I'm positive there has to be some kind of documentary on the history of dance, but I've never really looked into it. It's
might have to do it.
I'm down. We'll link to it. But as somebody who, like I said earlier in the conversation, kind of paved the way for this game. Right, like right now, it's the #1 genre in the world. That means no other genre in the world is moving like hip hop is moving. Do you just sit back sometimes? You're like, man, look what I helped to build.
Well, I mean, my life is still a reflection of it.
Right.
Right. So there are doors that still open to me because of being a part of the culture. I just came back from Mexico City shooting viral video with Shell and Ferrari for the F1. That all comes through hip hop.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Stunt, yeah.
And that's never something that I thought that was never supposed to be a part of it. I was supposed to make a record that people in my neighborhood liked and that maybe they played at the skating rink.
Right.
It was never supposed to be a full-time job, much less a career, much less a calling. You know what I'm saying? But these doors and these opportunities just kept coming across, and I just didn't want to not give it a try. Right? I felt like there were things that I could do and chances I could take that maybe other people couldn't, right? I feel like I clearly defined who I was as a person, as an artist, and who I am in this world. So let me go try this right quick. And let me go over here and hang with these people. And let me go do this right quick. Yep, this is Player. I'm finna come back and tell everybody how live this was.
Right.
And when you start taking on the role or responsibility of being an OG, you're supposed to be biting the bullet. You're supposed to go out and test the ground for landmines and things like that to make sure that the next generation has a good chance or an opportunity that you had. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to lead the game better than you found it. And the only way you can do that is by helping the next generation come through it easier than you came through it. Now, you can't solve everybody's problems because the way music is listened to, the way it's received is constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. But there are certain basic things about, don't mess with groupies, don't spend all your money on jewelry. There's some of these little things that you can still give people that are very general in life itself. That's just very basic, things that people need to know as navigating life. And if you've been lucky enough to navigate these waters or even more so have people speak into your life, like I had E40, I had Too Short, I had Jay Prince, Barry Hankerson, I had a lot of different people who had been in the game before me in certain aspects, in certain fields, whether it be as a recording artist, as a businessman, as a publishing, company, all these different things, and people gave me game, you know what I'm saying? And so I just feel like it's mandatory to give game to people if you've been, if the game has been given to you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Yeah, I always say, like, especially your generation of artists that came out of the South had it the hardest of anybody in this genre. No questions asked, man, because you had LA is the hub for Hollywood. That's you have all those entertainers around there. And then New York is New York, the media mecca of the world.
Absolutely.
And the South had such a hard time getting recognition in this genre, and y'all had to grind the hard way.
Well, our thing was, I always tell everything I go back to in this life is about proximity, right? And so with being in the South, we were just not close to these places.
Yeah.
Like we were just very far away. It was never lack of talent because I felt like we always had the talent. We always had the music. Right. We always had the movements. It was just getting the rest of the world to see it and hear it and be in a position to appreciate it. Now, if you go to a record company in New York, everybody that works in the record company is from New York. There's a lot of people that make music in New York, so it's a lot easier for a New York label with New York employees to sign a New York artist because everybody gets it.
Yep.
right? The kid is from Brooklyn. His A&R is from Brooklyn. His R&D person is from Brooklyn. His radio guy is from Brooklyn.
Yep.
Or, everybody's from here. They understand it purely. We get it. Let's throw money behind it. But then you try to sign a group from Houston, right? And nobody that works in your record company has ever been to Houston, much less understand the city, the culture, and they literally just didn't know what to do with it.
Right.
So we realized that nobody was ever going to understand us better than us, so we needed to be our own spokespeople. But we didn't have the avenues of television, and we didn't have the avenues of magazines or anything like that. So the only time people would ever see us would be in person. Like UGK, we didn't even have we had 6 albums. We probably had 4 videos total. So record company never even wanted to spend money on us because we would tell them we need to shoot a video like this. And they'd be like, no, nobody does that. We're not doing that. What the fuck? We don't want a video then. You know what I'm saying? We don't want it. We'll just keep that money on the budget. And so it was imperative for us to actually get out on the road and go from city to city and put ourselves in front of people as often as possible so that they could see the reflection of the music in their face.
Yeah.
And try to be everything that they were expecting us to be in that moment.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of the way that people from down here knew that they would have to do this whole music thing to get on. And it's not like it hadn't existed before because it's the same scenario for artists of color, right? Basically. So that same Chitlin circuit that was only available to black artists in the 50s and the 60s was now still there available for us in the 80s, 90s, and into the 2000s. And only until then that hip hop as a culture started becoming more than just music, you know what I'm saying, made from these inner cities. It became, some of the biggest music in the world. It literally, hip hop sells every product in the world, like food, clothing, cars. There is not one commercial for cereal now. The Bumblebee is rapping. Hip hop sells everything you drink, everything you eat, everything you drive, the clothes you wear. It sells all of that right now. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it now has a point of reference for the whole world to draw from. And so that's what our class is really about. It's very important to show people what the true intention of hip hop culture was supposed to be about before people realize the value in the culture as far as connecting with people.
Right. No, that's so beautiful. And I mean, you notice that, like you see, I was talking to my boys DC Samero. They were on my podcast and we were saying like the Doritos commercials in the 90s were super corny, super corny. And nowadays, like you said, the bee is rapping on a honeycomb. It's changed the world.
I just saw the new Mountain Dew commercial and it was like Cardi B, drip, drip.
Oh man,
I
didn't see that.
Drip.
I seen. I think it was Busta Rhymes and Missy Elliott on. I think it was like during the Game of Thrones. Yeah, the Game of Thrones dude. I forget Tyrion. That's my guy.
Yeah, him and Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. There you go.
Rapping people's songs.
There you go. Yeah, and I mean, it's beautiful to see how I view it from my lens, and I know people hate when you bring race and everything, but it's just a beautiful thing when a bunch of have-nots from the inner city slums can create something so beautiful that the entire world loves it.
Well, because
that shit is beautiful to me.
Well, because it's a unique experience, right? And that's an experience that very few people have. Right. They don't really know anything about it. And to see people, like I said earlier, it's like they can't believe that that's actually happening. They can't believe that people grow up in abject poverty in America. They think that's something that you see on a commercial from countries around the world, but they don't know how poor people really, really are in America. And the fact that being that poor and being from that desperate a situation doesn't always turn people to drugs and doesn't turn everyone to crime. That some people actually find a way to get out of that situation, to transcend through all of the ugliness and the madness that surrounds them and find a way to elocute it either through the written word or through acting or through sports or through music or whatever it is. They find a way to release the pressure and the stress of dealing with that kind of environment. They find an outlet for themselves. And whereas a lot of people that look at that experience be like, I would have folded, you know? And so seeing these unique people from these unique experiences transcend is very interesting for people who basically have never gone through anything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that's why a lot of people gravitate to it because of the edginess. But then there's also the edginess that they blame on the culture at the same time. Right. So it's like, oh man, those kids with the hoods on they're really cool, but you gotta watch them because they're wearing hoods. You know what I'm saying? So,
They'll rob you.
right.
Now, one of the opportunities that I think is unique to America is the innovation here. So, for a perfect example, is how for some reason how we do things culturally in America transcends and matriculates throughout the world.
Right.
So, like social media is a huge example of this, and how artists nowadays are using social media to elevate their platforms. And then so like back when you guys were coming up, you had to build your fan base organically, going to shows, word of mouth, things like that. Where now you can have your own fan base and build a career off your fan base and just tour. And you don't even have to be mainstream. All you have to do is it's just that, like the guerrilla marketing like you guys did.
Well, it's a lot easier to find that fan base now.
Yeah.
Right? Like those kind of situations have always existed. There's always been anomalies in the game where guys were making music that everybody else wasn't necessarily making or being into, but still had sustainable careers. You know what I'm saying? And that just came from touring a lot and going to small places that you never would have gone and finding a different level of appreciation for what it is you do and what you represent. That's how people like a Tech Nine can still have such a very strong career, even, years later, is because he was out on the road, going to different cities and different places. He was going everywhere everybody else went, and then he was going everywhere that nobody went. Yeah. And it was in that world of traveling where nobody went where he became king. Right. Because he was the only people that was servicing those people. Like I said, we talked about it earlier, disenfranchised people being appreciated. You know what I'm saying? And so he was somebody that would go to Butte, Montana, and North Dakota and Wyoming with hip hop. Yeah. And you know what I'm saying, they were different people, and they didn't necessarily look like the typical fans that we expect to see, people who are more knowledgeable and more immersive in the culture. But they wanted to appreciate it, and they wanted to be a part of it. And so the internet kind of does the hard work for you. You know what I'm saying? Basically, you put the music out, and then you can look at the analytics and see, okay, well, people really like what I'm doing in St. Louis, and people really like what I'm doing in Detroit, and for some reason, they really like what I'm doing in Sacramento. You know what I'm saying? So I need to look into the vibes of those cities, the inner city, and see what it is that they all kind of do the same. Are they doing the same drugs? Do they drive the same kind of cars? You know what I'm saying? Are they into the same sports teams? There's something that all these people have in common. Or are they certain, like for me, a lot of my fan base are people who are in communities that are a bit removed from popular culture. So they're still wearing clothes in certain cities in Alabama and Mississippi that people in New York stopped wearing 10 years ago. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But they're getting things culturally. There's a time lapse. Right. You know what I'm saying? And that also happens when you go overseas and you go to Europe and you go to these countries in Eastern Europe where the Iron Curtain fell, and now they're trying to get all the pop music in. They're just now getting to that early 90s hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So and they see a connection with people from these disenfranchised communities finally getting the freedom to speak, and they connect to that. You know what I'm saying? So Dirty South music is really big in like Germany and the Ukraine and Estonia and countries like that, where people are just now starting to carve out their identities, from being oppressed for so long. And so they look for people who have had that same kind of fight, and they connect to their music. That's why you go everywhere in the world, everybody loves Tupac. Yeah. Like Tupac is everywhere in the world. Anywhere you go, they love Tupac because Tupac is the international symbol of overcoming oppression 100% in the world culturally. It's amazing. Yeah, that's one of my favorites, man, of all time. It kind of lends itself to this though. So like as an artist that's up and coming and you trying to find your voice, not you, I'm talking about like just in general. Yeah, just in general. In this day and age, right? How do you balance staying true to yourself and saying I'm gonna make music that I like versus I have to have people relate to it, or else I'm just gonna be making music in my basement. Well, I guess it just depends on really what you're getting into music for. If you're getting into music to be famous and to make money, then you're typically gonna try to look and do what everybody that is famous and is making money is doing. That sounds gross. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just the nature of the game, right? If you want to play basketball, you're gonna start hanging out at basketball courts. If you want to play baseball, you're gonna start hanging out in baseball stadiums and whatnot. And it's just about being around people and looking at how they're living and seeing like, oh, they like this girl because she has long hair, but they like her because she has big breasts. But they like her because she has a big butt. So I'm gonna get all three, and then hopefully everybody will like me, or the guy be like, oh,
And
they
you
like
can
him.
nowadays,
They
too.
like him because he got the Supreme crossbody bag, but then he got this Louis Vuitton belt, and then he got the Gucci shoes. So I'm gonna get all of that stuff, and hopefully everybody that likes those things will like me.
Right.
That's just a human way of trying to process this stuff. And for some people, that seems to be the easy way in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everything else they hear is about these long years of no appreciation and tireless work and eventually having to get there. And most people don't want to take the 5-10 year route. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If there would have been a quicker route to me getting into who I am now, I'm sure I would have took it. But the reality is there is no quicker route in order to get to certain places of respect and admiration and appreciation. And people will actually have seen your struggle and connect with you. It's like, man, I remember when I was 21 and I was trying to get a job and I was trying to find my place in this world, and you were doing the same thing, but you were doing it through music, and you kind of spoke to my struggle. That's a different kind of appreciation that people make with music. And when you make those kind of connections with people, you don't have to have the #1 record on the radio. You don't have to have the biggest tour going in the country. People will still come out to wherever you are, whatever little place you are, to appreciate you and let you know, hey, man, you've had an effect on my life. And I just, and listening to your music and seeing you perform reminds me of the things that I went through and from what you were saying in your music that you were going through at the same time. So I feel a deeper connection to you than just music that, that plays on the radio or playing in the background when I go to a club,
That's the unique thing about music that I fell in love with at an early age, and why I never fell in love with my football persona was because of all the fans that have ever came up to me, I've never felt more appreciated than a comment or a DM somebody sent me saying, hey, man, I know you're probably not going to read this, but I listened to one of your songs named Suicide. I'm referencing the exact one that really hit me. He said, I was referencing I was listening to one of your songs, and it's called Suicide Note. He said, I've been going through a lot lately, man. He said, this song helped me get through it. And that, never has a fan come at me for football that has changed my feeling. For people to say, man, I love the way you run, man, I loved watching you when I was a kid, yada yada. But that has never touched me before. And granted, you probably have that to the max, right? Because you've been doing this your whole career. But that feeling I've never had a feeling like that before. When somebody related to you so much that it actually helped them get through one of their bad days. Like that human connection it was brand new to me, and there's no better feeling that I've had.
And you aspire to that as an artist when you've had those kind of moments yourself. Right. So it's really about the kind of music that you listen to and what that music made you feel and what that music maybe have gotten you through. You know what I'm saying? There's, the bitter love songs that you listen to that get you through the rough breakups. You know what I'm saying? There's the songs that motivate you to go out and get money when you're broke. You know what I'm saying? There's all these different kind of songs that inspire these different emotions inside of you. And when you become an artist, you know that if you're doing this right, that means that you can do that to other people. And once you get that acknowledgement of that, then this all starts to kind of make sense.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Very
It's
well
like,
said.
okay, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
It's about that reciprocation of being, transparent enough to put my real struggles out there for people to see and hear. And instead of taking advantage of me in that moment, they relate to me in that moment. You know what I'm saying? That's really when you're trying to be an artist is what it's all about. It's 100%. About getting the reaction from people that the best art you listen to or looked at or read, got out of you.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about. And if you can do that, you'll make money. That's why I say it doesn't make sense to chase money. Just chase making good music. People that make good music make money.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen anybody that makes really good music just go absolutely unappreciated. You just have to keep going out and performing your music until you find out where that music connects.
Where your pocket is.
There's a lot of people that make music in Houston that are super famous in Germany, in different places, but they don't get that same level of fame here. And they're okay with that. You know what I'm saying? They go where they're appreciated. They perform for people that appreciate what they do. They get their little money and they come home. And then the other thing is having, realistic expectations about what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's not going to be as rich as the Migos, and they're not going to get the big money that Drake gets. But that doesn't mean that people aren't going to like what you do and won't be willing to pay for it, and that you can't have a decent living out of it. But everybody's not finna get rich off of this. So as long as you're not constantly looking at other people's money and counting other people's money, you can start to have some kind of peace of mind in this thing.
That's really a life hack right there. Like really, because it directly correlates to what we're talking about, man. But if people in general would take that mindset, this world would be such a happier place. You can never stop watching other people's pockets. Stop looking at what everybody else is doing, and start understanding and appreciating what you're doing. I always tell people, if you make, granted, it's all relative, but if you make $35,000 a year, you're in the top 1% of wealth in the world, the top 1% of wealth in the world. So it's all relative. Your struggle is relative to America. Everybody's struggle is relative to where they're at. So if you're constantly comparing yourself in your mirror to everybody else's mirror, you're never gonna be happy, because I'm pretty sure there's something that Drake is chasing. He's the #1 artist in the world, and he's trying to go somewhere. He's trying to chase something. He's trying to fill Michael Jackson's shoes, and who knows if he'll ever do that. But there's always somebody bigger. There's always a better private jet. There's always a bigger mansion. There's always something else out there for you. Like,
and what other people have isn't necessarily what you need to have.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? Like there were times where I wanted money, but I probably wouldn't even been here. Probably wouldn't be here right now if I had gotten the money that I wanted when I was like 19, 20 years old.
Right.
Very irresponsible. I would have got hurt out here. You know what I'm saying?
100%.
I would have been very exposed in this world, and people would have been able to take advantage of me. I probably want to rob and kill me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm wide open. My nose is wide open at that age. So I think everything happens in life for a reason, and I think that people that complain about their position in life don't really pay attention to the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't think they want to. I think they want to just complain about their condition.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Not saying that, everybody's going to have the best house or the best job or whatever, but I know a lot of people with money, and I know people say this all the time, man. I know a lot of people with money that they not happy. Like money was really, for some people, the worst thing that ever happened to them. Because when you get money, you're not just a person no more. You're a company, you're a corporation. You're a brand now. You know what I'm saying? You go from being a person to a brand, and then people become relying on that brand for their well-being. And when you don't live up to everybody's expectations, you'd be surprised what people come and do to you. You know what I'm saying? It's a very ugly world, and conditions make people uglier sometimes.
1000%. I always tell people, man, money don't change anybody. It just reveals everything that you already were.
People that really, really want money got something that they want to do in this world, and they feel like they need money to do it. Like there's somebody they want to be around, there's somewhere they want to be, you know what I'm saying? There's something that they want to do to somebody, or there's certain circumstances that they want to impose on other people, and they can't do it because they don't have the money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because money and power, there's some of the worst things in the world, man. Like,
I hate having that conversation and then hearing people say, yeah, you say that because you got it. And I'm like, what you gonna listen to? A homeless man tell you money ain't it?
Yeah.
Like, who you gonna listen to?
I'm telling you, man, like, and it's like I said, like I have a decent life. I'm not complaining about my life at all. I'm sure a lot of people would like my life. But if I tell people about some of the worst moments in my life that came with what I'm going through, people wouldn't want no parts of that.
No, they only want to swap the good times.
No. People like, yeah, but I bet this is good. Yeah, but then you got to deal with this. Oh, I ain't know all of that. I ain't know it was like that. Yeah, it's like that every day.
It changes.
I just came from my granddaughter's cheerleading showcase or whatever, and my son's fiance was with him, and she had never been with me in a public setting. And so she just watched, people come up and want to take pictures. And every time we was talking and playing with the kids, people want to come and take pictures. She was like, I couldn't deal with that every day. I was like, yes, you would.
Yeah, 100%.
If you wanted this life, this is exactly what you would have to deal with every day. You know what I'm saying? So the good times and the money and all that is good, but there's a lot of things that people would never understand, that, you know what I'm saying, that your lack of freedom and being able to just move in this world, sometimes little things really matter. Sometimes you just want to go to the grocery store and get some soda and some soup and just go home, and it becomes, hey man, I need help. Can you come talk to the kids? Or can you come do that? And, it's not that you don't want to do it, but sometimes you just don't want to hear it.
No, you need your time.
I need to worry about me right now.
100%. So man, I mean, you've been a beacon of light to a lot of people in the city, a lot of people in the game. How do you decompress?
Vacations. Like I just go somewhere and not answer the phone. And it took me probably like 18 years into my career to figure it out. Up until then, I just really started taking my first vacation about 9 years ago.
I'm with you.
Know what I'm
I just
saying?
took my first vacation in Japan probably about 4 or 5 months ago.
And that's like, when I say vacation, that means going where you want to go and doing exactly what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to leave the city to have a vacation. You just go go in your house, turn off your phone, and sit in your sofa in your drawers and watch TV and eat powdered donuts. You know what I'm saying? And just do what it is that you need to do. But I was so caught up in, these opportunities won't always last, right? So I need to get this money while I can. Well, the reality is the opportunities that really don't last are the moments of peace. And that's what you need to be chasing.
Man.
Those are the ones that really don't last when you actually in a place where, okay, you know what? I can take a week off and I can just go somewhere and just, sit in a hot tub and just whatever it is you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And you have to take advantage of those moments, the moments where you can reconnect with people on a natural level. You know what I'm saying? And you can go somewhere. Most people only want to go somewhere. Famous people, rich people like to go somewhere when they get there, people will know who they are and give them a certain level of comfort. Yeah. But that's not a vacation. That's just going from home to another place that you set up to feel like home. Sometimes you got to go somewhere and be a tourist. And just kind of be unaware of what's around you and maybe not know the language or whatever. Because people come to America all the time and have no idea what to expect. Right. You know what I'm saying? They don't make a big deal out of it, but we go everywhere. We expect everybody to speak English everywhere we go.
True.
Does anybody speak English?
And be mad.
Be mad. We're the only country that does that. You know what I'm saying? We're the only people that do that. But no, I always tell people, man, like you got to, find moments for you, and you got to, sometimes just be very selfish with yourself and be like, nope, I'm finna go here and I want to do what I want to do on this trip. And you just have to make sure that you're around like-minded people that can either enjoy those experiences with you or give you the space to have that experience.
So give me a life gem, man. Your journey. I mean, you've lived an amazing life, man. Just you're extremely genuine, kind, compassionate, philanthropic. You like I said, you've been in the music game almost 30 years now. It's a rare opportunity you get a chance to sit and build with somebody like yourself. So give me a life gem that you've learned throughout your process that has helped you blossom into the human that you are.
I try to be better than who I am at all times. And when I say that, meaning that I know my true nature, right? And and I'm in a position where if I wanted to be a bastard and an asshole about certain things, I could be, but I know I need to be better than who I am. I don't really like being around people. I don't like being in public places. I like to be in my house, in my drawers, watching TV, right? But I know that there's a lot of things that people want to know about me, and things that people, feel that only I have the answer to, which I don't have all the answers. You know what I'm saying? I'm not Sway. I don't have all the answers. But I know there's certain things that people can gain from me, from my existence, from being out in this world. And so I make myself available for people and I make myself accessible for people. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, it might be a dime a dozen experience, but for other people, it might be 1 in a million.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh man, I never thought I would get to see you, man. Let me ask you this. You know what I'm saying? And people have those kind of situations. As a human, you kind of owe them that. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, well, I've lived these 46 years just to answer this question just for you. This might be what my whole life has led up to, right? You may ask that one question that puts everything into perspective for what I've done, you know what I'm saying? And these interactions are sometimes better for me than it is for them. They think they getting something, but then they ask a question that kind of opens up a different perspective.
Right.
For me, that's really what I enjoy about my class, is the fact that every year we get different kids that ask different questions about the same stories that I'm telling or the same lesson that we're telling that day, but they see it from a different perspective based on different life experiences. And so when they kick that back out to me, and I'm like, man, I've genuinely never looked at it from that perspective. Right. You know what I'm saying? And it's very enlightening for me in certain places. And some of the best things that we'll ever learn about life, we will learn from other people that we really don't know and probably will never see again. You know what I'm saying? I had a guy walk up to me in the airport the other day and was just like, can I pray with you? I'm like, absolutely. You pick me out in this airport out of everybody. You must know something about me. I don't even know. Maybe you saw something about me. Please pray for me right now. But it's these very small, intimate...
I don't know if I can answer that the same.
But it's these very small, intimate interactions that we have with people on the most basic of human levels that really, really define the human experience. And you deny yourself those moments if you deny yourself the interaction with other people.
Yes. And I needed to hear that. I need to get better at that.
Because it's very easy. This life is designed when you're an entertainer or a person of influence or whatever you want to call it, celebrity, star, whatever you want to call it. It's very easy to live in a bubble. You know what I'm saying? But then if I live in a place where the only information I'm getting is the information that I already have. I've lost at life.
Yeah.
I've lost at the life experience. You know what I'm saying? And some people don't want to meet other people, and they don't want to know things because they think they know everything. I know I don't know everything.
Right.
I know a couple of little things about a lot of things, but I don't know everything. And I know every person I meet in my life teaches me certain things about this world that we live in, or maybe things about myself that I didn't even notice. You know what I'm saying? There's certain ticks and like, you don't know what you look like, right? Like right now, I know what you look like, but you don't know what you look like. So, you know,
got an idea,
you
man.
got an idea,
Got
but
an
you
idea,
don't really know what you look like right now. You might have a booger. You don't know.
I got a booger, bro.
No, you might. I would do. But you would never know if you never went around other people. You don't know your mannerisms. You don't know. I tell people all the time, you don't even know what you look like when you lie. But the people that you interact with the most know exactly what you look like when you lie, because they've watched you lie to other people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when you try to lie to them, they know exactly what your lie face look like.
Damn. Niggas got lie faces.
Yeah. We all have this face. We all have these certain mannerisms that we do in certain situations. We have our anxiety face. You know what I'm saying? We have your, what you thinking about? You up to something kind of face. And only the people that are around you that interact with you the most know these type of things. You know what I'm saying? So it's important to always be in the level of interacting with people so that you can recognize the next person's lie face.
You look like my dude that be lying. No, that's beautiful, man. I appreciate you sharing that with me, man. I try to soak up as much as I can, and that's one of the reasons why I started the podcast was I can frequent people that I'm just either a fan of or I have a lot of admiration for, and I learn a lot from these, man. I know people get a lot from them, but they're for me more than anybody else, man.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
Man, thank you for having
It
me,
means
man.
everything.
I enjoyed this.
No, for sure, man. You welcome anytime. Look, I got 3. You top 3 hip hop voices of all time.
Oh, thank you.
Pop, DMX, and you. Just talking about the tone of your voice. I'm talking about beautiful tone of voice. Like, you have a great tone of voice, man.
I knew there wasn't a lot of things. Like, I was never going to be the most handsome dude. I wasn't going to never be the most physically fit dude or whatever. So I worked very hard on my voice and how I presented myself to people.
That shit sounds, it's amazing, man. Did you have a podcast?
Yeah. My wife and I have a podcast.
Yeah.
And my wife hates my voice sometimes. Like,
That's crazy.
When it's just me and her, she's like, your voice it can vibrate in the eardrum. It can resonate in the eardrum very hard if I want to. You know what I'm saying? So I can hold those tones very low. And my wife's like, don't talk right now. Just don't talk. It's very irritating.
I'm with
the tone of your voice.
Queenie, we love it though.
Which is crazy because I'm like, baby, I get paid for this voice.
1,000%.
This voice makes the money. You messing with the money right now.
So the voice is why the lights on, babe.
But thank you for having me, man. And thank you for this outlet, man. I think, like I said, you're having these conversations with people. And sometimes when we have a conversation, we think that we're there to give them some game, but I got some game too.
Much love. No, it's much love, man. So, I mean, I don't know if you're a fan of the podcast or not, man, but we end it the same way every time, man. Jim Carrey is one of my favorite humans on earth, and I want to pick his brain. And so since episode 1, my mother was episode 1. So from her to Snoop to the astronaut to everybody has asked Jim Carrey on the podcast to try to advocate for him to come on the podcast, man. So if you just look in your camera right there and just talk to Jim for me, man.
Jim Carrey, I know you're a very enlightened person right now. I know there's only certain type of people you want to be around, certain kind of conversations that you're interested in having, that to have a better, deeper understanding of the human condition and why people are doing the things that they do in this life and how we can improve ourselves as a society. This is a great place to come and have that conversation, man.
Man, I appreciate it, man. Bun B, everybody, and he's more famous than me, so if I will put your @sign. So if there's anything you want to plug, if there's anything you want to shout out for my fans,
just be nice to people. My niece asked me yesterday. She was like, Uncle Bun, you have the most friends in the world. She's like, you have the most friends in the world. She said, you have like really, really good friends. She's like, how do I get all those kind of friends? I said, just be nice to everybody.
And be
nice to everybody that you talk to, and you never know who somebody's going to be later.
1,000%.
I just assume that everybody I interact with is going to be richer than me when I meet them the next time around.
That's a great way.
I want to be nice. So I want to be nice to them.
You're going to be rich. You're going to help me out one day. I appreciate you, Bun. Much love, brother.
Thanks.
All day.
All right,